been thinking about how to review The Dark Knight for the longest time. Batman is my favourite superhero, and the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight Trilogy is my favourite iteration of the character. I couldn't review the Jurassic World Trilogy due to logistics. With the Dark Knight Trilogy, those logistics just don't come into effect. I've seen these films so many times before, and I often quote them to my friends. But given that me reviewing films often gives me a different insight, I'm a little bit worried about looking at these films in a different light. There's also the manner of how I review them. I have gone back and forth on whether to review them as one solid story or as 3 films. I suppose there's only one fair way to decide. Heads 3 separate stories, tails 1 long story. Heads it is. Let's start with Batman Begins. Bruce Wayne is a young man in a remote prison getting into fights on a daily basis. He's met by a man named Deckard who offers him the chance to find purpose with the League of Shadows, meeting their leader, Ra's al Ghul. After climbing a mountain to reach the League's base, he's taught how to fight with a view to lead the League of Shadows in their mission to deliver true justice. Using a combination of ninja skills and fear toxin, Bruce is deemed fit to lead the League to Gotham City, his hometown, and purge it of injustice. Although Bruce looks to accept, when it's clear that their form of justice involves killing, he refuses. When the League tried to kill him, he destroys their base, killing Ra's al Ghul and narrowly saving Deckard from falling off of a cliff. Bruce heads back to Gotham and discusses with his butler Alfred about his plan to rid Gotham of the corruption and crime that plagues it. His plan is to become a one-man army named Batman, and starts by targeting Carmine Falcone, the leading crime boss in Gotham, using equipment from Wayne Tech's Research and Development Division headed up by Lucius Fox. Batman quickly enlists the help of Captain James Gordon, the only Gotham police officer not being bribed, and takes down a shipment of Falcone's, getting the crime boss arrested. Falcone is only charged thanks to Assistant District Attorney and childhood friend Rachel Dawes, who's been working for years to send criminals away and is almost disgusted by Bruce Wayne's showy playboy lifestyle, activities which Alfred recommends that Bruce does so nobody suspects that he is Batman. Rachel keeps coming up against psychiatrist Dr. Jonathan Crane, who keeps finding Falcone's men insane and transporting them to Arkham Asylum. Crane has been transporting in secret shipments for his employer, and Falcone has been allowing it to happen. Crane, using a scarecrow mask and fear gas, has Falcone declared insane to stop him from blackmailing him. After Rachel is kidnapped by Crane and exposed to the fear gas, Batman rescues her and gives her an antidote that Lucius has synthesized after Batman was exposed to it days before. The police discover that Crane and his men have been dumping a pounded version of the fear gas into Gotham's water supply. However, the fear toxin doesn't work in water. This is where Wayne Tech's missing microwave emitter comes in, a device that vaporizes all the water, leaving the fear toxin to be dispersed into the air. The person behind it? Ra's al Ghul, who's revealed at Bruce's birthday party, a party he doesn't want, to be Deckard, who has returned with the League of Shadows to destroy Gotham. The League burned Wayne Mansion to the ground, with Bruce narrowly escaping thanks to Alfred. The League used the microwave emitter on a train, dispersed the fear toxin in the Narrows of Gotham, and released all the inmates of Arkham Asylum, causing chaos in the streets. Rachel tries to do what she can to help the people in the Narrows, but is rescued by Batman again, with Bruce subtly informing Rachel who he is, using her own words. Batman, with the help of Jim Gordon in the Batmobile, take down the train and defeat Ra's al Ghul, leaving him to die in a fiery explosion. In the aftermath, Rachel tells Bruce that when he can give up Batman, they can be together. Jim Gordon, over a newly built bat signal, informs Batman of a new villain in town that uses Joker cards as a calling card. Batman Begins is the first mainstream movie to show the origins of Batman, aside from the multiple scenes in previous films showing Bruce's parents' death. Honestly, I don't know who gets more, Thomas and Martha Wayne or Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. My point is that Batman Begins had huge shoes to fill in order to set up Batman, his struggles as Bruce Wayne, and set up a world where he can exist without coming across as silly, and the film does exactly that. It's fairly exposition heavy without dragging down the pace, and the explanations on how his gadgets work and giving us an insight as to who Bruce is and the people around him. The story is comprehensive but easy to understand with enough depth to enjoy on reruns. The main weakness as far as I'm concerned though is the villains. They cycle carousel-like dependent on who needs to go up against Batman. Ra's al Ghul starts but is taken out the story early on, then Falcone, representing Gotham's corruption, takes centre stage, followed by Scarecrow, and then finally, Ra's returns at the end. It means that although each is effective in their own way, they never come across as the main threat. Ra's comes closest, and there are several mentions of a grander plan, but it's mostly told to the viewer, not shown, with the exception of the theft of the microwave emitter. Batman's greatest quality has always been the variety of villains he faces and how they're a dark version of himself. And Batman Begins doesn't quite get this, I feel. Scarecrow uses the fear toxin but is really one note, and so doesn't hit the mark. It's a shame because he does appear in the next two films, but he's really ineffective, acting as a drug dealer in Dark Knight and a judge in Rises. Cillian Murphy does what he can with the role, but I feel there's a missed opportunity to flesh out Scarecrow into a deeper character. The rest of the cast work pretty well too, with the exception of Tom Wilkinson as Falcone. I feel he's not a great fit for the character. Of course, what is Batman without his gadgets? The Tumbler is one of my favourite Batmobiles. The look and sound of it is awesome, but I also understand criticism of it not being very Batmobile-like. No bombs drop from the wheels, no caltrops drop from the back. It's essentially a mobile tank, but damn if it isn't impressive looking. I have slight issues with the bat swarm used when rescuing Rachel from Scarecrow. Batman drops a blinking device down a stairwell and a swarm of bats arrive and ensure cover whilst Batman drops down the centre of the spiral staircase. In a film with a more realistic approach, this one seems to stretch that boundary somewhat. Batman Begins is a great opening for the trilogy and sets up the two films to come after it without becoming dependent on what's to come. It could very well be a standalone movie, and it looks like it was always supposed to be. Perhaps that's why it's so good, the versatility in being a standalone or the beginning of a whole trilogy. Batman Begins was incredibly successful though, meaning that a sequel, The Dark Knight, was released in 2008, 3 years after Batman Begins. Let's move on to the second film in the trilogy. A mob bank is robbed by a group in clown masks, killing each other as the job progresses until one remains, who takes off his mask to show him face painted underneath. This is the Joker, who's been stealing from the mob for a while, leaving Joker playing cards at his crime scenes. Batman, meanwhile, is working a lot closer with the police to stop the mobs with a plan to hit all their banks at the same time, thwarted by mob accountant Lau, who's pulled all the money together in a location only known to him and fled to Hong Kong where he can't be extradited. Alongside Rachel's new boyfriend, District Attorney Harvey Dent, a plan is put together where Batman will capture Lau and bring him back to Gotham in order to bring down the entire mob. Joker, meanwhile, has warned the mob that this will happen, but they don't listen. When Lau is kidnapped by Batman, as he predicts, and the mob is arrested en masse, Joker starts a campaign of terror, stating that unless Batman unmasks, he will kill innocent people every day. His next targets: Commissioner Loeb, Judge Cirillo, and Harvey Dent. Harvey is at a party hosted by Bruce Wayne and so he's rescued, but the Judge and Commissioner are killed. Joker announces that Mayor Garcia is the next target and attempts to take his life at Commissioner Loeb's memorial service, but Jim Gordon takes the bullet and is declared dead. Bruce decides to turn himself in, but before he can, Harvey publicly claims that he is Batman and is arrested. Joker attempts to destroy the prison cavalcade but is foiled by Batman and Jim Gordon, who faked his death so he could capture Joker. Joker is arrested, but whilst being interrogated he states that Harvey and Rachel have gone missing and gives 2 addresses where they are. Batman races to one with the police headed to the other. Harvey and Rachel have been tied to chairs in a room full of oil drums and a bomb. Harvey struggles to get free and gets half of his face covered in oil. Batman narrowly rescues him, but Rachel is killed. In Harvey's explosion, half of his face is burnt to the bone. Meanwhile, Joker has escaped using a bomb inside of another prisoner. It's a dark day for the Dark Knight, who laments to Alfred that Rachel was going to leave Harvey for him. But Alfred knows better, as Rachel left him a note saying she intended to marry Harvey. Alfred doesn't give Bruce the note and later burns it. Cameron Reese, an accountant, has accidentally found out Bruce Wayne is Batman, and after failing to blackmail Lucius Fox, he goes on TV to reveal all, but Joker calls into the show and says that if Cameron is alive in 1 hour, he will blow up a hospital. Bruce decides to rescue Reese, costing him a Lamborghini in the process, but Reese, seeing this, doesn't say anything. Joker, meanwhile, has visited Harvey in hospital and tells him about the virtues of chaos. Harvey decides that he will find all those responsible for Rachel's death and decide their fate using a two-headed coin. One half has been scratched and burned. Joker follows through on his threat, however, and blows up the hospital. Thankfully, it's been evacuated, and Harvey is now out in public taking his revenge. Joker's next scheme is to threaten all of Gotham to leave, but not through the tunnels and bridges. This leads to two ferries leaving, one full of prisoners and one full of civilians. Joker sets them up in a trap using more bombs and oil drums, with each holding the trigger for the other. Whoever sets off the other's bomb will survive, or they'll both blow up at midnight. Batman locates the Joker, and despite interference from SWAT, he takes down Joker and watches as neither boat blows each other up. Joker, though, tells Batman about Harvey Dent, who's now taken Jim Gordon's wife and son hostage. Gordon and Batman head to Dent's location, and after several coin flips, Batman takes down Dent, and he falls to his death. Gordon and Batman talk about the impact that Harvey becoming a criminal will have, and Batman says he will take the blame and go into hiding so Dent's reputation remains intact and all the good that he does remains. The film ends with Batman escaping as the police chase him. The Dark Knight feels like an escalation of Batman Begins. We have Batman established and we see him adapting to the changes in criminal tactics and getting a faster suit with a wonderful line from Lucius about wanting to turn his head, a nod to the Michael Keaton Batsuit. The film is more political, I feel, but it doesn't overshadow what we're all here for, Batman vs Joker. Heath Ledger's Joker is a far cry from previous portrayals, but it is incredible. Arguably it paved the way for Jared Leto's version, but despite that, this is my favourite iteration of the Clown Prince. It fits in well with the gritty, realistic Gotham, and the ticks and little things Ledger does to bring his character to life means that as a central villain, he steals the show. It's what's missing from Batman Begins. This did, however, lead to Heath Ledger's premature passing, which is a damn shame for such a talented actor. It also led him to get a posthumous Academy Award. For as good as Joker is, sadly this means that Two-Face is slightly undercooked, if you pardon the pun, though Harvey Dent isn't. Harvey is brought up to be the White Knight of Gotham to deter criminals legally, so Batman isn't needed anymore. However, Joker corrupts him, fairly easily actually. I feel that Two-Face, one of my favourite villains, I dressed up for him for Halloween once, is lacking a little bit. For all of Joker's talk about him not being a schemer, he sure schemes a lot. The pacing of the film is weird and almost episodic. Joker's schemes are set up, executed, and then we move on to the next one. Sometimes it feels like the story is there to fill in the gaps. It starts when he threatens Gotham and lets Batman unmasks, and some of these plans are really elaborate and could go wrong really easily if one small thing fails. The incredible car chase followed by Joker's arrest and subsequent escape comes to mind immediately. It goes so well, but it could have gone wrong so very easily. This is also a long film, and sometimes, despite how much I enjoy it, it feels long. I know that the ending came under some scrutiny when it was initially released, but I don't hate it. It makes sense to me. Batman makes himself the villain in order to save Gotham's soul in the form of Harvey's reputation. Sure, it needs some cooperation from the Gordons and from the people who survived Two-Face's coin flip justice, but I feel it's a neat bookend to the film that has Batman being essentially part of the police at the beginning to being its scapegoat at the end. Joker's plan to corrupt Harvey is very similar to The Killing Joke, one of the most famous Batman comic stories, in which Joker tries to drive Commissioner Gordon crazy, stating that everyone is one bad day away from being insane. Here, though, he's more successful. Batman's gadgets too have seen an upgrade. I mentioned the suit already, but now he's using explosive gel like in the Arkham games. If you want to see more of that, my live streams on Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight can be found on the channel. He also uses a version of the Fulton recovery system similar to Metal Gear Solid, so clearly pandering towards me. The Batbike is a really unusual design, and I love how the wheels roll sideways when needed. I love that it comes from the tumbler, which unfortunately gets destroyed in the film. The sonar is the main focus though, becoming a plot point at the end. Batman is so desperate to find and defeat Joker that he uses every cell phone in Gotham as a sonar system, which Lucius hates and refuses to be a part of. I love that Batman has it destroyed automatically when Lucius enters his name, ensuring that the trust isn't broken and Batman hasn't completely turned to the morally sketchy side. The Dark Knight is a great sequel that also acts as a standalone if needed. It is a prime example of what to do as far as story escalation is concerned and raising the stakes without going overboard. Heath Ledger is fantastic, and his performance alone warrants a viewing of the film. Finally, let's get into The Dark Knight Rises. 8 years after the death of Harvey Dent, no one has seen or heard from Bruce Wayne or Batman. At a fundraiser at Wayne Manor, a waitress is given instructions to drop off a meal in one of the wings of the mansion and then leave. She stays and steals a pearl necklace from the safe. Bruce, walking with a cane, catches her in the act and tries to stop her, but the waitress escapes, taking a senator with her. Bruce pursues her days later using his detective skills to identify her as Selina Kyle. He makes his first public appearance in years at a charity event hosted by Miranda Tate. Miranda has been looking to discuss business with Bruce as he heavily invested in her energy project but was unable to make a return on it due to the machine that was created being unstable. This has resulted in Wayne Enterprises taking a huge financial hit, something that competitors are looking to take advantage of. They buy a set of fingerprints from Selina Kyle, and with the help of mercenary Bane, they make some bad investments in Bruce Wayne's name, making him bankrupt. This robbery draws out Batman, who tries to stop the robbers getting away, but the police instead pursue him. He rescues Selina during this time, forming an uneasy alliance with her. Alfred quits after an argument about Bruce returning as Batman, and he confesses about burning the note from Rachel. Miranda, however, doesn't leave, and instead she and Bruce become romantically involved before Bruce hands over control of Wayne Enterprises to her to save the company. Meanwhile, Bane has his own plan and is building up an army in the sewers of Gotham where people keep disappearing. This catches the attention of GCPD Officer Blake, who investigates, as does Jim Gordon, who's nearly killed by the mercenary gang and hospitalized. He rewards Blake by promoting him to detective. Batman convinces Selina to take him to Bane, but she double-crosses him, leading the Dark Knight to fight Bane one-on-one. Bane is a former member of the League of Shadows and was excommunicated from the group. Between this and his raw power, Bane easily beats Batman and breaks his back. Bane then takes Bruce Wayne to a prison in a giant pit, a place he calls home, and leaves him there to watch what he will do to Gotham on a TV screen. Bane starts by kidnapping Wayne Enterprises board members so they can give him control of the failed energy device, turning it into a giant nuclear bomb. He next manipulates the police into going into the sewers to find him and sets off explosions all around Gotham, trapping the police, killing Mayor Garcia, and destroying most of the football stadium. He announces that the energy device will become unstable and destroy Gotham in several months, and if there is any resistance, one Gotham citizen holds the trigger and will detonate it themselves. Gotham is isolated from the world, and Bane's martial law, where the rich are dragged out into the streets and sentenced by Dr. Jonathan Crane, is in effect. Meanwhile, in the pit, Bruce is plotting his escape, and after healing his broken back, he starts to train to climb out the pit, which has only been done by one person, a child born in the pit, the child of Ra's al Ghul, which Bruce works out is Bane. Bruce tries and fails to climb out the pit twice, but on the third attempt is successful after he refuses to use a safety rope. He heads back to Gotham, where Bane is very much in control, despite underground resistance from Detective Blake and Commissioner Gordon. Batman returns, rescuing Gordon from an icy death, and puts together a plan on the eve of the bomb exploding to save the city. The 3,000 cops are rescued from underground, and a mass fight starts in the streets between them and Bane's army. Batman fights Bane again and this time beats him, but is then stabbed in the ribs by Miranda Tate, who reveals that Bane isn't Ra's al Ghul's child, she is. Her real name is Talia, and she, as a Gotham citizen, has the trigger. Thankfully, Gordon has managed to locate the bomb and put a signal blocker on it to stop the detonation, buying more time for Batman to save Gotham. Bane is taken out by Selina, and Batman goes after Talia and the bomb, which after a large crash, which doesn't set off the unstable energy device, kills Talia. Batman, with minutes to go until the bomb detonates, decides to use the Bat, a helijet created by Fox, to fly the bomb over the river to prevent Gotham being destroyed. As the autopilot isn't working, this means that Batman sacrifices himself to ensure the plan works. Gotham is saved, but they've lost their hero and Bruce Wayne, who Gordon determines are one and the same based on something Batman says as he flies off. Alfred is heartbroken until he sees Bruce with Selina in a cafe in Florence. The film ends with Detective Blake, real name Robin, discovering the Batcave with instructions left to him by Bruce in his will. The Dark Knight Rises finishes off the Dark Knight Trilogy story well and brings closure to the arc of Bruce Wayne and of Gotham as a whole. I love this version of Bane, even if almost everything he says could be a meme. The previous version of Bane from Batman and Robin is awful, a mindless goon for Poison Ivy, Whereas this Bane, aside from being strong, is also really intelligent. He has plans and on paper has the beating of Batman every time. He even breaks Batman's back like in the comics. Tom Hardy's Bane is the best Bane, but there is something missing, something that makes Bane who he is. The lack of venom, not to be confused with Tom Hardy as Venom, which is something else entirely. It means this version of Bane is missing one of the core things that makes Bane what he is, and I'm okay with that. Remember, this is a world where Joker doesn't use goofy weapons, a world where Scarecrow doesn't have a biplane, and where Condiment King doesn't exist. Bane as the central villain works really well, though the business corporate stuff to take down Bruce Wayne kind of bores me. The whole thing with daggers orchestrating things slows the pace right down, but it's there to give Selina Kyle something to do, to interact with Bruce Wayne and later Batman. I'm sure there was another way of doing it though. I get that the whole point is to end up with Miranda Tate owning Wayne Enterprises, but it's a hugely convoluted distraction from the interesting parts of the film. This isn't to say the characters are dull. Well, Miranda is, but when she reveals to be Talia al Ghul, she becomes interesting, albeit not for long because she's killed off shortly afterwards. I don't even mind the deliberately misleading flashbacks to hide her identity, and I remember it being a huge shock the first time I saw it. Selina is a mixed bag. She's obviously supposed to be Catwoman, but I'm fairly certain that name is never used. Anne Hathaway does a good job, I think. Not incredible, but good. Cat Ears being her visor works as a costume choice, and I feel she serves the plot as a supporting character quite well. The story, though, is very stop-start. The stakes rise to quite ridiculous levels. Bane's plan was to have the police go underground on the same day that Mayor Garcia goes to a football game, after he's broken Batman's back, and involved explosive lace cement. It's worse than Joker's multifaceted plan. The solution is too plot convenient too. After months of covert surveillance and planning, Batman returns within 24 hours of the bomb setting off and saves the day. He's like one of those people who wait till the end of your group project and claim the ideas for themselves. You can't just come in at the last minute and take all the credit, Batman. Also, where is this pit? It's never stated. I know Uzbekistan is mentioned as where Dr. Pavel is kidnapped by Bane, but there's no reference to where the pit is. Also, how did a broke Bruce Wayne sneak back into America and Gotham, especially when so many others had failed? The story doesn't click with me and requires a bit more of a suspension of disbelief than others, except the Bat Swarm, of course. That isn't to say that Rises is a bad film, far from it in fact. It's just the weakest of the three. It's a high bar. The chanting to get Bruce out of the pit from the other prisoners, alongside excellent sound design, almost makes you want to chant with them. Except for me, it sounds like they're saying fish, fish, pasta, pasta, and that's all I can really hear. The sound design also during the first Batman vs Bane fight, there is no music whatsoever, because this is a beating of Batman, it's not a fight. The only reveal I don't like is that of Robin. It seems unnecessary and actually doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things. Bruce Wayne took years to train to be Batman. If he intended for Officer Blake to take over, wouldn't you want to be sure? I've played Azrael's Trials in Arkham Knight, he does not give up the mantle easily. Dark Knight Rises may not be the strongest of finishes, but it rounds out the trilogy very well. As a whole, the trilogy could be considered for an elusive, perfect trilogy of films. A question I often ask about a 3-film story arc that has no bad movies in it, tells a story across the 3, and could each be a standalone. Leave your thoughts in the comments and perhaps I'll do a separate video on that another day. The direction of Christopher Nolan is something I've scrutinised before. I often find his films overly complicated just because they can be, but the Dark Knight trilogy just works well, and pairs up perfectly with the incredible Hans Zimmer soundtrack. Danny Elfman is more well known for Batman music, but Zimmer makes this trilogy come alive in my opinion. So let's talk about recurring cast members. Christian Bale is my favourite Batman as a whole. I find that each actor playing Batman and Bruce Wayne are good at one or the other, but Bale gets the balance just right. The only thing I have noticed on this watch is this derpy expression, and now I can't unsee it. I blame Pete Holmes' hilarious parody for that.
Really seals in the flavor.
Oh, dude, Jesus.
Do I even need to say how good Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman are? Name a bad role either one has played, I dare you. Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon just proves how much of a chameleon he is. He's the representation of Gotham's soul, and he's absolutely perfect. So how about Rachel? This is a weird one because she's played by Katie Holmes in Batman Begins, but Maggie Gyllenhaal in Dark Knight. Apparently this is due to Katie Holmes' availability. I feel Holmes has a better chemistry with Bale in the Rachel Bruce dynamic, but Maggie Gyllenhaal's interpretation of the role was not without merit. It's a more confident role which reflects where Rachel's character is. The three films pulled in a combined $2.4 billion at the box office. They're all well received and are often cited in bringing the gritty, realistic version of superheroes to the cinema. Personally, these remain my favourite versions of Batman, Joker and Two-Face in live-action movies, and I can still absolutely recommend them even now. Yes, there are issues with them, but there is no perfect film, and realistically, there's no perfect trilogy. But the Dark Knight trilogy is a great example of how to do a trilogy of films well, and to adapt what has previously been a campy, silly series into a somewhat more grounded interpretation. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises are well worth your time, and can be streamed online if, unlike me, you've got them on physical media.
Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you see, please give this video a like and share it on social media. Maybe leave a comment below about what you thought of this video. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe for more content. If you'd like to support me in other ways, you can buy merchandise at bradleyj.tmail.com, where you can buy t-shirts, tote bags and more. Or you can become a Patreon at www.patreon.com/BradleyJVoices for just £1 a month.
Coming up next for the Film Review Open Challenge is 6 Underground. For now though, thank you very much for watching.